the feast of the conversion of St. Paul. The actual feast day is tomorrow, but today we're remembering it as an anticipation of the feast. And the conversion of St. Paul is a very important part of the Scriptures. It's a very key point in the life of the church. Without this conversion, without Paul, you would not have the majority of the New Testament. The majority of the New Testament would all be missing, and all this doctrine that we have, that we understand and we look back to, comes from Paul. The explanations are from Paul. And so without Paul, we'd be missing a huge chunk. So this conversion is a very important part, because he started out breathing murderous threats against the Jews and against the church, trying to destroy it. He didn't like the fact that people left Judaism in order to be a member of the church. He saw that as terrible. And then even beyond that, other people coming to believe. Other people who weren't Jews coming to believe in this idea. So much importance does this have that there was a couple of gentlemen in the 1800s, Lord Lyttelton and Gilbert West, who were atheists, didn't believe in God, and as a matter of fact, wanted to disprove. And they decided, well, if we could disprove the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and if we could disprove the conversion of St. Paul, then we would disprove Christianity. So, Gilbert West took the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and Lord Lyttelton took the conversion of St. Paul. They went out and agreed to do this, and over time, they came back together. And when they got back together, they started to say that it was starting to look more and more like it had to be real, that it had to be true, but they were going to keep on working. In the end, both of them wrote a book in defense of the gospel. Gilbert West wrote a book in the defense of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and Lord Lyttelton wrote a book in defense of the conversion of St. Paul, the fact that it had to happen. See, in this case, God did not only just use Paul, someone who was trying to destroy the church, to convert many people, to give this foundation of the faith, but God used somebody else who was trying to disprove the conversion of St. Paul to further proclaim the gospel. God does this over and over again, using the least likely people to proclaim His word, using the least likely people to go out into the world. Well, one reason for that is that those are stories you listen to, aren't they? Those are stories that you'll pay attention to. And in this case, these were learned men. But it doesn't always come from learned men. There was a case of a boy who was before a judge one day. He had gone through family after family in foster care. He had committed robbery, and he was before the judge, and the judge said, "I'm going to put you into jail, and I don't expect to see you back out for 25 years. I expect that you'll keep on going in and out and in and out over the years." Well, the judge was right, but he went in to proclaim the gospel. He went in to proclaim God to the people on the inside. After he had gotten out, he found a family that loved him and cared for him and shared the gospel with them. And then he was able to go back in and to talk to the people on the inside as somebody who was on the inside. Somebody who could talk their language. Much like God used Chuck Colson as well. God uses people over and over and over again. But back to St. Paul. Saul was on his way to Damascus. He had acquired papers for him to inspect and find out what was going on in the synagogues. The synagogue was supposed to be a place for Jewish worship. And so he was going to go and find out if what they were preaching was all right. Is this truly Jewish what you're preaching? Because he suspected, and he was right, that the gospel was being preached. So we got these letters. Now this wasn't a small undertaking on his part. The distance between Jerusalem and Damascus is approximately 120 miles. That would be just north of Hattiesburg for us. That's a little bit of a jaunt on horseback. And as you can tell, he wasn't by himself. He was with many other people as he went along. And as he went along, God blinded him. Jesus talked to him and said, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And his response is, "Who are you, Lord?" He knew that the way that it happened, that it had to be God talking to him. And he said, "I am Jesus whom you are persecuting. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." He's not told at this point. But he does ask that first key question, who are you, God? He wants to know who it is that is speaking to him. And each one of us do want to know that. We do want to know who God is. And so as he went into the city, he was told who he was, that he was Jesus. He went into the city blind. 3 days, neither eating or drinking for 3 days. He traveled the rest of the distance to Damascus. But God uses more than just one person. God uses many people. And in this case, he used a man named Ananias. A man who knew that Paul was on his way. The message had gotten to him. He was afraid because he was one of the leaders in the synagogue. And God tells him, "Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying. In a vision he has seen a man named Ananias come and place his hands on him to restore his sight." God told him, he's already seen it happen. Now do it. It's been made very simple for you, Ananias. He has already seen it happen. Your job is just to live out that vision. To live that out. Go, Ananias. He could have said no, but he didn't. How could you say no to that? Go, because he has seen it in a vision. He is expecting you. Go. When Ananias prayed over him, something like scales fell off his eyes. Something like fish scales fell off of his eyes. It's like he literally was blinded by something material. That it wasn't just, I'm blind, okay, now I'm not blind. But something, God put something in his eyes that was removed when Ananias prayed over him. The scales fell, and he was made to be able to see. You know, I like to talk about Ted Decker's books. And in the Circle trilogy, one of the things that happens is there's a series of books of history that those who are washed and are believers are able to read, and those who are not able to. They try and they try and they try to look at it. You know, there's main characters who want to try. And as a matter of fact, the main character tries to teach, Thomas tries to teach Karan's daughter how to read. He goes through the alphabet and works on it, and it's all gibberish to her. She cannot understand it until she is washed. Until the scales come from her eyes. Before she is able to see